It's very upsetting that we did not get to see the whole film of the happy little elf. He was making me happy. I was happy. I went into the fucking goddamn theater and I was expecting to see a happy little elf when the little bastard came up. I was feeling happy and everything. But then all of a sudden, the whole entire mood changed from happy to sadness in an instant. God damn! Personally, for me, I thought I was one of those people who ended up just getting bad luck in general, but I guess I was wrong. Hell, every time I go to the casino, when I put my money on the fucking table, I pick up the dice, I throw it. Sure, I'll get a 7 and that'll pay for a little bit. And once I start placing my bets, once I get a number like a 6, for example, that's going to be the number to try and get. We roll the dice. I'll be gaining the money that I want. And then all of a sudden, here comes a 7, and boom, bye bye all the bets and the hard work that I had to put on the fucking table, all because a 7 fucked me over. Or even if I put money on the blackjack table, and after all the work you've done from splitting cards like a fucking 6, for example, on a bus card of a 5, and you end up getting a fuck you 20, and your hands are like 17 and 18, and the dealer's hands is a fuck you 20, that's it. There went your money. So I thought I went through a series of unfortunate events, but I was wrong. These three kids went through a series of unfortunate events. So you had Violet, who is someone who is an amazing inventor, does her own inventions, takes ordinary props or ordinary things she finds, like you can take a marker or a cassette tape and she can just figure out a way to put that shit together and make a crafty invention. Then you had Klaus, who is all about putting his heads in the books and reading, learning, and figuring something out. Then you had the little baby sister, Sunny, who just loved to bite stuff. You better be careful or she'll bite your ass, man. But so these three kids had special abilities. They came from a very wealthy family with a very interesting secret that they were not aware about until the discovery of one telescope changed their perspective. Now, this movie in general came out in 2004, so we're going to the 2000s time and talk about this little gem that is from the Nickelodeon Productions. You had Jim Carrey playing as Count Olaf. Oh, joy. And with these three kids discovering this telescope, figuring out that there was a secret with the family, and after the house burned down, Count Olaf has to take these kids in. And well, they're now under his care. They're basically miserable. They're sad. They're angry. They don't want to be with this son of a bitch at all. Hell, if I was one of these kids and I had a special ability, my ability is that I can play pool. I'd be able to take the pool stick and fucking poke him in the eye so he could shut up and leave me alone. I would feel better living on the streets instead of being in this shithole house. But each our own. So these three kids are stuck with Count Olaf, and after they realize that they got more guardians, one person who's all about reptiles and has a whole collection of various species that he's gone all over the world collecting, who's got like snakes, iguanas, lizards, chameleons, you name it. Some of the most various fascinating creatures in the whole reptile family. Then you got the one relative who is extremely persnickety, lives in a wooden house that is literally on the edge of the fucking river. She is scared to death of everything. Her Aunt Josephine, I think her name was. She is scared to death of everything, and she takes everything literal when it comes to safety precautions. The refrigerator falling on you, the goddamn doorknob shattering into a million pieces, the fucking light bulb hitting your head, goddamn slipping on a piece of carpet and falling on your ass, or fucking sitting on a thumbtack, or chew your food carefully, or turn the stove on, eating cold ass spinach soup. God damn. But the only thing about this woman that she was never scared of was her grammar, her spelling. Grammar is the joy of life, which I agree with. Even though I have a tendency to fuck up my grammar when I'm typing. Well, that's because when you type so fast, you fuck it up, but I digress. So, the thing is that the Lemony Snicket series books, it's this guy Lemony Snicket, he's literally at his typewriter and he's documenting these three children. How did Lemony Snicket find these three children? How did he meet them? I don't fucking know. He just knows them and he just starts writing. Maybe Lemony Snicket is a close personal friend of the fallen parents. And once the documentation of the children has been said from people who knew the children, took them under or whatever, he just started writing a story about him. And lo and behold, you managed to get 13 series of books called A Series of Unfortunate Events. Now, personally for me, I never really read the whole entire books. I maybe read about 4 or 5 of them. I never did touch the whole entire series when I was in middle school at all. Sure, the book covers are interesting, and it's a very investing series, but with the modern technology, everything goes to film or TV series, and I ended up watching a television series that literally covered all the books and brought it to the big screen, which was interesting. But I'm here to talk about this movie in general. Now, if I am not mistaken, this particular film, it covers the first 3 books. It covers The Bad Beginning, The Reptile Room, and The Wide Window. So it was able to take 3 of the books and combine it into one whole film right there. At least the whole entire beginning process going on into their next journey above and beyond. Something that we were able to never see, where they went to this some sort of academy or some sort of hospital or some sort of office or whatever. A bunch of different things that the kids were able to do, see who would take them, and sure enough, they were unsuccessful. But we're worried about the first 3 put into this film and how, see if they were fortunate or continuously being unfortunate. And I think that particular word falls into their category as a whole symbolic feature. However, though, when these kids, if there's one thing that is symbolic, they may go through a bunch of events that may not be suitable, or you can say is very not so pleasant for them. However, between all 3 of them, they have each other. They got the love. They got this care. They know that their parents loved them. They know about their special abilities that they have and how they can turn the little things and turn it into a big matter of what can help them cope with life and continue moving on. Not just living on their parents' legacy, but also discovering who they are as people, that they are fortunate. It just had to do a little soul searching, that's all. But looking at the whole circumstances with how they were able to meet up with Count Olaf. Now Jim Carrey, I like Jim Carrey is funny, he's great, but in this film, I appreciate the honesty and self awareness that he is a shitty actor trying to put on a performance along with his goddamn goons he's got. But he's a shit actor. He is an evil person. He's shitty. He doesn't give these kids a good lifestyle because he's a full-on narcissist. And I get the whole presentation of Count Olaf's background, but Jim Carrey playing as this role was just way too fucking goofy, way too silly, and you can't even take him serious at all. So, despite the villain in general, he was just too ridiculous, too silly, too over the top, and something that I honestly was not crazy about watching or looking at. So that's what I could say about Count Olaf. Now, the 3 kids in general, now, even though each of them have their own special ability, I respect them all individually as people. They got common sense, they got logic, they got more fucking self awareness than all these other assholes do. Now, I understand their uncle, who was in the reptile room, took good care of him. He meant well and everything, but unfortunately, he just didn't necessarily live up, even though he was the only relative that had more care for him, more than fucking Aunt Josephine, who was the stupidest of the goddamn bunch. I mean, Meryl Streep, she's a great actress and all, but in this particular film, no. It's just her performance just felt too literal. It was too ridiculous. It was just too silly. So besides the main kids, all the other performances were just silly, just over the top, ridiculous. And on certain occasions it gets you a little angry because you're wondering what the fuck is wrong with these people. But let's talk about the whole production, the scenery. I actually admire it a lot. It's got that whole melancholy to it. It's got a nice look. The set is spooky to a few places. Um, it's got it's the tone itself is interesting. And it's for some reason for me, it's very atmospheric. I love the whole entire mood. Even though melancholy is literally the biggest word I can throw into about the whole scenery. And there's just something about the whole production that I just found some sort of interesting value to. Just the whole color scheme, the look, the presentation. It's just something about that mood that I can't really find the right words explaining, but I just like it. I like it. I do also like the whole mystery aspect thrown into this film for the main story. You got the parents that have some sort of secret now. In any family in general, if you're like a very big, wealthy family, you're obviously going to have some sort of secrets that the children aren't necessarily going to discover or be told until they're a lot much older and they're a little bit more mature to understand the values of what it is that children's parents or parents before the parents and so on and so forth back on and leading into carry on that they don't want to exploit until they're ready to understand it. So once the kids find out about this little telescope, they go on a hunt. They want to understand what happened to their house, how it got burnt down the way it did, who was behind it, what were the secrets behind this particular telescope, and why was there so many various relatives, or what was their connection, what was their special purpose behind the Beauregard family, what made them so unique. So many questions throughout the whole entire film. Now, personally, some of them are answered, but then there's the rest of them that, in my mind, aren't particularly answered quite right because there's a lot of discoveries that need to be answered, at least with some of the most deeper, darker stuff, but at least with the whole generalization of what happened and at least a somewhat of a small beginning to understanding the Beauregard secret. You got small answers there. However, there's plenty of things that still need to be answered, and I don't obviously think we're going to get those in. I don't think, actually, we're not going to get them at all because this fucking film series never did pick up, but at least, like I said, covered the first 3 books. So, if there's one thing I can say about the Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events, it's fine. It's an okay film. It was tolerable to watch. There was some logic with the kids. They were likable. They had interesting special abilities. But the relatives that took them in, Count Olaf, too silly, too goofy. It has a nice set. It has nice color scheme. It has a very interesting story that is a mystery and it's somewhat investing. So overall, watching Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, it's just a popcorn film. If you want to watch a film around the Halloween time or something that's grim, has a melancholy background, something that's more sorrow, but also has a small charm to it, yeah, this is one of those films to where you can just pop into the DVD player and just watch it, eat popcorn, drink some Pepsi or whatever, and just have a nice little time watching just to put on the TV and have yourself a little movie night. So, as for an overall rating, what I can give Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, 2.75 out of 5, just barely passing, because this film is fine, it's okay, it's somewhat watchable, but it's not a strong film from the Nickelodeon catalog, but it's okay for what it was. So, with that being said, folks, let me know down below your thoughts about Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. I'm interested to hear exactly what your thoughts are about the film, about that little TV series that happened, the books, whatever. Something that involves the theme of a series of unfortunate events. Let me know down below your thoughts. And with that being said, ciao for now.